want to talk about science. First of all, what is science? The first thing that we take in mind when we heard the word science, it comes to our minds such as observation, identification, description, or experimental investigation, and also theoretical explanations of the natural world phenomena. It's very common that it kinds of things, such activities apply to an object of inquiry or study. This kind of activity also requires a method or a study, a really hard study. Another important thing is that science is very related with TOK's concepts, including knowledge. But in what way? As we know, in this type of science or study, we apply the process of exploring and discovering the way of nature works. That means that we gain knowledge through that experience. It's true that we don't know everything, but we can continue to expand our understanding by making observations, asking questions, or seeking answers. If we know a little bit about science, then we can talk about their own characteristics. First one, it is guided by natural law. That means that the pursuit of scientific knowledge must be guided by the physical and chemical laws that govern the universe. Referring to the previous one, then we can talk about the second one. It has to be explained by reference these natural laws. That means that scientific knowledge must be explained what is observed by reference in nature. We cannot accept explanations based on supernatural deities, such as ghosts or angels, or miracles or magic. That means that there has to be an evidence which must either support or not support hypotheses. The third one is that science is testable against the observable world. We must be able to make observations in the real world, directly or indirectly. Also includes ask questions or form and test hypotheses. Also, its conclusions are tentative. Yes, are not necessarily the final word. If we draw a conclusion based on some observation or test on some event, we must be ready always to discard or to modify our conclusion. Another important thing is that we can be scientific if you start with a conclusion and refuse to change it, regardless of the evidence developed during the course of the investigation. And the last one, it relies on evidence that is testable from observations and experimentations. If we cannot make repeat observations or experiments to gather information, then it is outside the realm of science. So, in summary, we can say that science are concerned with the material world, aim to be able to make predictions, use a systematic method based on observation, are also concerned with facts that are independent of human beings. In the process, they use quantitative methods. And as I said before, produce knowledge that does not change over time. And finally, produce the only knowledge worth knowing.
Characteristics of pseudoscience. These are general characteristics. Pseudoscientists believe that there is no more to be learned. They fail to generate testable hypotheses or to conduct objective tests of theories. There tend to be no advancement of knowledge in the field, which is resistant to change. There are few tests of previous claims. Pseudoscience is based on dogma and critical belief. There may be hostility in the fact of counter-evidence or disagreement. There is a suppression or of the assertion of unfavorable data. Selective use of data including only looking for supporting information, otherwise known as confirmation bias. My ideas are not amenable evaluation to scientific evaluation. Ideas are subjective and can be tested objectively. Personal knowledge and events cannot be tested systematically or used to provide evidence. There is also often a reliance on experts with no real expertise. This use of evidence with expertise is also considered as a fallacy, as they use a public figure in order to prove their argument. Pseudoscience involves the terms that sound like scientific ideas, but the terms are not clearly defined. Often the ideas violate non-scientific principles. Scientific phenomena are shy or flighty, and that they often disappear or weaken noticeably when subjected to well-designed experiments, especially with unbelievers. Pseudoscience involves looking only for mysteries that have occurred rather than trying to generate and test explanations for the phenomena. Pseudoscientists engage in explanation-based scenario. They identify a phenomenon and provide an explanation that fits the fact after they are known, but doesn't provide a means for making predictions in advance. For example, some years ago, Julius James suggested that, historically, the two hemispheres in the human brain were not connected as they are now. Thought, brain activity in the right hemisphere was perceived to be the voices of God. Unfortunately, to this explanation, there is no credible evidence that this is true. In fact, given that we know about evolution, there is no realistic way that our brains could have evolved as James suggests. So pseudoscience doesn't really have proof, nor an argument, nor a scientific evidence to prove their claim is true.
Hi, I'm Fernanda, and I'm going to talk about the different science and pseudoscience. In first place, to talk about this, we have to talk about Karl Popper. Who was Karl Popper? Karl Popper was an Austrian philosopher of Jewish origins that lived at the same time of Sigmund Freud and Albert Einstein, and indeed met them. While he observed how these scientists work, he came to define what is science and divide science and pseudoscience. So, according to him, there is a bright line that divides what is scientific from what is not. This is a clear line of demarcation that keeps the borders of science secure and apart from what he calls pseudoscience. So, while observing Freud, he said that pseudoscience is set up to look for evidence and suppress claims. However, when he observed Einstein, he said that science is set up to challenge the claims and look for evidence that may prove it false. How did he develop this? He saw how Sigmund Freud make up the evidence or work on justifications to support his hypothesis, while Albert Einstein create the whole hypothesis and look for a form to refute it or to make it false. What form in this case? The 1999 solar eclipse, in which he tried to prove his theory of relativity wrong. So, in other words, he said, Karl Popper, that pseudoscience seeks for confirmations of their hypothesis, while science seeks for refutables or falsifications of their own hypothesis. So what other difference we can find between these two? Well, science is always kept and has to be kept in very strict and neat organized journals that have to have high standards of honesty and accuracy, while pseudoscience is more linked to literature and is aimed for the general public. Another difference is that science results must be reproducible, so in order for it to be proved by other scientists. However, pseudoscience results cannot be reproduced or verified because the studies are very shabby and lack of a very heavy content or basement. Another difference between these two is that for scientists and for science, failures are researched and studied closely because incorrect theories can often make correct predictions. However, in pseudoscience, failures are ignored or hidden so to keep the theory or the hypothesis alive. Here are some other differences in this table that I will put next.
Belief system that intends to predict the future of the characteristics of an individual by calculation relative to the position of the planets at the time of birth. In other words, the astrologer says that a person born under the sign of Aquarius will be intelligent, timid, kind, etc. Artificially means that it is a human fantasy and doesn't exist in nature. The problem is that those who divide the sky were the ones who determined the constellation that will rule the future generations. Was a man who determined the signs. Was not the signs who determined the behavior of men. We enter a vicious cycle with no exit. That is not the only drawback of artificial division. There is also the question, is the right division? The answer is that there is not a right division, but many possibilities. Take a star map and a pencil and unit the stars in the way that we like, and we will have our own constellation. There are historical examples of other civilizations, and they have done it, like the Mayas and Incas of America, African and Australian tribes. This was an example of pseudoscience. The following example will be of science. We will use as example the physics. What is physics? Physics is a science that studies the properties of matter and energy and establishes laws that explain natural phenomena, excluding those that modify the molecular structure of bodies. But in the definition says it's a science. Why the physics is a science? The physics is a science because it is a set of knowledge capable of being tested, realizable, and directed to objects of the same nature. In this case, space, properties, changes, interaction, and other aspects of matter and energy. Also, because it is based on a set of principles that establish the exact science, among others, to be able to realize it. For remember, science is a set of knowledge that it is organized systematically of time from observation, experimentation, and reasoning in specific areas. And pseudoscience is an affirmation, belief, or practice which is present incorrectly as scientific, but doesn't follow a valid scientific method, cannot be reliable proven, or lack scientific status. Thanks.